Hi everybody. So today we're going to talk about how to move our game object with code, finally. So you should have gotten the basics of code from the previous two labs. And so now what we're going to do is apply all that knowledge. And let's see if I can get rid of this thing. Okay, so I've got my Shrek object here on my screen, and just to remind you how we can move things already, I selected my Shrek head here, and as soon as I click on that, then if I look over in the inspector, this tells me all about my Shrek. And so if I want to move him, which I'm going to do right now, I'm going to move him 5 units to the right. So I'm just going to put a 5 in there, and we can see he jetsons over to the side. Okay, and what I'm going to do for you right now is show you how to do that same thing, but do it with code. So I'm going to put him back, and in just a minute he's going to jetson over because of code. So the first step when we do this is we need to, and this should be review, we need to give a script to our game object. So I'm going to go over and I'm going to say add component, and I'm going to scroll down to the bottom, and I'm going to click new script, and then I'm going to say create an add after I write my third one, and I'm going to call this one move, so it's starting to be related to what I'm doing, so I can keep them straight. All right, so move is associated with Shrek, and now what I'm going to do is open up my move method and use my Visual Studio IDE to edit it, and I want to introduce a couple new concepts. The first is, and I want to actually go back to how do I move this window? I want to be able to access this 3 pair here, not a pair, trio, X, Y, Z. I want to be able to give those values. And it turns out, just like there's an int and a string, well, there's something called a vector 3, which makes it so we can adjust where these 3 values are with code. So it's another type. And that might be a little bit abstract, but just think of a group of 3 numbers, and what C# does to give you the ability to do that is this thing called a vector 3. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say public, which remember from last time means that it's going to be visible or accessible from Unity, and I'm going to show you this new type, which is called a vector 3, and all this means is this guy can hold a trio of numbers, and I'm going to call this Joe, and the reason I'm doing that is so you know that Joe is a name that you make up. So how do you set the values? Well, we're going to say Joe equals new vector 3, and then I'm going to put 3 parameters in here, and it's a little bit tricky because you got to write a little f after the number, which stands for float. And there's my 5. So we're going to see hopefully see our little guy move. And then that's my x value. That's my y value. And that's my z value. So what I just did is I assigned Joe to be the 3 values that I want to show up here, here, and here. And remember, I just moved the guy over 5 units in X, which is why I have 0 for Y and 0 for Z. I'm just going to move them horizontally. But that doesn't move them. That just assigns Joe to those values. Then I have to tell Joe to go into those places. So I am going to go down here, and there's a command, and you say transform, all smalls, dot position equals, and by saying that, that's giving me access to transform position. So that's connecting me right there. And I'm going to say equals Joe. Boom. Okay. So now I'm going to press F8, I think. I forget. Or maybe it will say build solution. Boom. Oops, vector 3 does not contain a constructor that takes 4 arguments. Oh, so I put 4 things into my 3. Oh, I see what I did. It was supposed to be 0.0. There, try that. Save. Let's try to build that guy again. Build solution. All right, it looks like I succeeded. So now I'm going to go over to my, now we want to keep an eye on this guy, actually over here. We want to keep on this. We want to keep an eye on that 0 right there. So I'm going to hit play. Keep an eye on that guy right there. Boom. So it changed to 5. And Shrek moved over laterally. Hopefully you can see it used to be over here. And that change happened because I set the position with my code. Okay, I'm going to do one more thing. If you notice here, because I wrote public, I have access to X, Y, and Z. So if I well, let's do this. I'm gonna play this again, and notice it went back to 0, and there it's at 5. And I'll say, what if I want this thing to go to Y of 5? So I'm gonna change this to 5, but it didn't move. Put it back to 0. Put it at -5. It's not responding. Question is, why isn't it responding? And hopefully you know. I won't tell you for a minute. I'll let you think about it. But I'm going to go back to my code and think. So recall that this command where I'm stuffing Joe into the transform position only happens once at the beginning of when our movie plays. And then it's all done. Updates the thing that happens over and over. So I'm going to take this guy and copy this. Copy. Can I copy that? Yep. And I'm going to put that down here. Okay, so now I'm continually updating my position with whatever Joe is. And remember, Joe is a public variable. So it's going to start off at 5. And then if I want to change it, I can change it because I have access to it through the public setting in Unity. Okay, so I think I compiled again. That's good. And then you're going to, before I hit any buttons, you're going to see this thing turn to a 5 again after I hit play. Ready, go. Okay, so now this is 5. And now I'm going to go try to put 5 into here, and boom. I can adjust this real time because Joe is being updated over and over and over. So if I put something in here, it's immediately stuffed into the position, and I can move this guy wherever I want. Yahoo. Or I could put him right back at the origin. Boom. All right. So that's the that's the lesson. There's a couple things in there. Vector threes, that's a new thing. And then the idea of being able to, setting the transform dot position, and that's how you stuff the 3 value into these 3 locations. All right, I will give you a visual of what the lab output should be, and in a separate video. All right, have fun.